Good evening and welcome to the Cambridge Union. Thank you for joining us here this evening. My name is Sharina Shiv and I'm the Equalities Officer, and we are joined by a former cricketer, Monty Panesar. Put your hands together for Monty, everyone. Hi Monty, how's your day going today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And firstly, I'll say thank you for inviting me here. Somewhere at Cambridge University, it's obviously got a lot of, rich history, and absolute, pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So we'll probably spend sort of the first half an hour just kind of finding out a little bit about your story right from the beginning up to kind of what you're doing now, and then we'll open it to questions. So feel free to have your questions ready as well. So if we start with sort of back in the day, where did you grow up and when did you start getting into cricket?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question. Before I actually answer that question, I'd like to say thank you for everyone turning up. I know it's a bank holiday and you'd rather be somewhere else, but you must be fans of me and you must know something about me. So any questions you have, please do ask because I will answer it. So yes, I was from Luton, Bedfordshire, and we were very lucky that at that time we had a club called Luton Town and Indians. And I grew up in a predominantly, Gujaratis, from West India. And my dad's best friend was Hitu Nayak, who actually, my dad used to work out at the Vauxhall plant there. And I find it really interesting that I actually grew up on, going to a cricket club, which was predominantly people who looked like me, who was, like this. It helped in my progression to where I was now. And I remember speaking to the likes of Jimmy Adams, who was a West Indies coach. And he said that a lot of people from, depending on what your, where you're from in terms of your, your demographic and your background, you tend to go to them sort of clubs to get that progression. So I didn't realise it at the time. I thought I just went to Luton Town and Indians. That was the only cricket club that there was in Luton. But then now looking back at it, it actually did help my development. So it's really interesting to see now how when I reflect through my career, what certain permutations there were which really helped my career.
Amazing. So you were obviously sort of getting involved with it, being around people that looked like you. And then when was the sort of first time that you then was working on like an international stage? What age were you when you first had your first international tournament? Yeah,
well, this tournament as well, I don't think Serena knows much about cricket, let's be honest, guys. It's supposed to be like, when did you first get selected for a test series? For England, right? We're not here to play tennis, right? It's not tennis or a golf tournament. It's for England Test Series. So, which was in 2006 against India, and I'm sure you guys know my first Test wicket. Anyone wants to? Yeah, there you go. So he's obviously.
Should I just get off the stage?
Well, yeah, you
Does anybody else want to come and do this?
Yeah, he knows about cricket. Can you please come sit here? But no, Serena's doing a great job. She's obviously fantastic at what she does, and she's absolutely brilliant. And shall we explain to Serena who Sachin Tendulkar is?
No, I know.
Do you know who he is?
I know who he is. India, plays for India.
No, he plays for India, but the most important thing is his category of his status of this cricketer is with Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, Michael Jordan.
I do know that.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the most important thing. There's 1.4 billion people in India, and if you don't know Sachin Tendulkar, they may deny you visa entry.
No comment. No, I do know who he is. So. Okay, so 2006, you've got your childhood, hero that you're going up against. Talk us through that whole experience then.
Well, it's I don't know. It's like when you watch someone on TV all the time, and you're just like, this is never going to happen in my lifespan. I'm always going to just know Sachin Tendulkar, the guy on TV, and that's it. And even when I went on that tour, Andrew Flintoff, I just thought, I just signed a 2-year deal with Northants. and I thought that I'm not going to really play, for England. It'd be a great experience. Go to India, just see what international cricket's like, and maybe one day I'll get a chance to play, for England. But they needed an attacking option. I was a very attacking spinner, very aggressive, to get wickets, spin the ball. And he picked me. He backed me, and he picked me. And after that, when Alim Dar, lifted his finger, that's where the celebrations began. I did not actually celebrate since then, running. Have you seen? No, I don't know. We have to ask Serena. I don't know if she's seen me celebrate that wicket. But
yeah.
they know, obviously. And I went running towards point, and I never used to celebrate like that, honestly. It was a complete, oh my God, am I living a dream? Is this really happening? It was just a surreal experience.
Fantastic. And then talk us through kind of what were the other big tournaments or matches that you played?
She said tournament again.
Series.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll ask the question myself and answer it.
Thank you.
Shall we do that? No, I'm joking. Look, the Ashes. Serena, do you know the Ashes?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other team in the Ashes then? It's England versus...
Oh, God. Is it Australia?
She just took it right. There's only six teams, right? There's 1 in 6. You got it right. So yeah, okay. Ashes is a big thing, right? And the reason it's such a huge thing, we know the history of it, because it was in 100 years ago. That let's say that the people who were the sort of people who go to prison, as a convicts, as such, they send them all to Australia in a ship. So the Australians have this huge grudge of we are not, really low-class citizens. We are going to beat England in everything. Comes to Olympics, comes to cricket, rugby, whatever it is. And that's a huge series. And I made my Ashes debut in Perth, and I remember taking 5 wickets, in that as well. And that was a unbelievable experience.
Amazing. And so this week is the start of the Test series. So what are your thoughts on England, and do you think that New Zealand sort of stand a chance?
Well, New Zealand, number 1 team in the world, we all know that. New Zealand are number 1 in the world, and we've got a Test championship happening as well against India. It's the first, that in Southampton. Look, I think England, probably will beat New Zealand in this time of the year, because we've got likes of Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, who, are probably of the best of our time, when Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath were there. So in my opinion, I think New Zealand may struggle against England, and potentially, facing India, it's going to be it's a momentum thing in sport. Sometimes, you're playing against a team that is fresh and hungry, like India. And if New Zealand, if they don't perform that well, then suddenly they'll be low in confidence going into that World Test Championship in Southampton. So I'm obviously, England supporter. I want England, to do really well against the number 1 team in the world.
And out of the England team, who is doing the best, and who have you got your eye on, and any kind of young talent that's rising up?
Well, there's obviously, Ben Stokes, we're all a big fan of. When he comes back, I think it'll be unbelievable. Jack Leach, a really good left-arm spinner. He's another good one. There's a young guy called Ben Duckett at Notts. All the sort of, I think, county cricket fans right now, on Sky Sports. I'm sure you guys watching the county games and probably not revising much on the exams. That's what I'll be doing if I was a Cambridge University student as well. So I think Sky Sports, I think they've done brilliant, to get county cricket in since the postponement of the IPL. And how have you guys find it, the live streaming and watching county cricket? It's been good. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, good. Okay,
and then for those of us that aren't much into cricket, but are trying to get into cricket, we've obviously got the 100 franchise competition. What are your thoughts on that, and how that's going to develop out? Do you think it's going to pull in a new audience?
Well, if it can get Serena more into cricket, then I think the 100's done its job, hasn't it? Because she's not really much of a cricket fan at the moment. But let's hope when the 100 is there, she becomes a cricket fan. And I'm sure there'll be other people like Serena, neutral fans who probably, let's be honest, cricket still, it's the cricket enthusiasts, that really watch the game, and even football. Football have huge supporters all over the world. Cricket still doesn't have that market, apart from India, who's very strong. So we hope that the 100-100 will bring a new audience, and I really hope this time round, like last time when England, we developed the T20 game. I think once it becomes a success, that the ECB will hold on to the rights, and then they can sort of sell the license to countries. You've got to buy the license off the ECB to play the 100-100, and then at least they own the rights to the game.
Incredible. And in terms of, we've just heard, as of today, Naomi Osaka, I keep talking about tournaments, so I'm going to bring in tennis. You can say tournament here. So I'll say tournament here. So we've just found out that she's actually withdrawn from the French Open due to mental health. And I know, obviously, this is sort of very linked to some of the things that you've openly talked about. Just wondered, with the pressures of you having to travel away and, the strains of quickly rising into the industry, can you talk to us about sort of the experience you've had and with your mental health?
Yeah, great question. I will probably say that, with Naomi Osaka, withdrawing, it was probably the right decision, if you ask me, because fans, organizations, sponsors, the last thing you want is someone like Naomi Osaka winning, let's say, French Open, and then she just packs her bags and off she goes. It's like that is just not what the fans want to see, And if you're a sportsman and you're entering, let's say, the boxing ring, you've got to understand what the punches are going to be thrown at you. Well, do not enter that ring. Do not enter the competitive field if you're not in the right, mental space. So yeah, if any sportsman, any person who thinks that, oh, I don't want to do the interviews because mentally it's affecting me. It's like saying Tyson Fury, when he, let's say, boxing Deontay Wilder, saying Deontay Wilder telling Tyson Fury, just don't give me a knockout punch, right? But just jab away, but don't go for the heavy knockout punch. You can't do that. You can't have sports people just saying, no, because of mental health, I'm going to play the tennis, but I'm refused to do the press conferences. In fact, you should not even enter the tournament. If you're not mentally fit, you shouldn't enter the tournament. It's like, how do I say, driving a car. If you do drink driving, you're over the limit, and you're not fit to drive, are you? Because you're over the limit. Same thing here, even when it comes to mental health. If you're not fit and you want to enter that competitive environment and you can't deal with it, please do not enter. There's a lot of people out there who work extremely hard on their mental and physical well-being to get ready for such big tournaments. So I think it's a right decision that the organizations, have done.
So I'm going to sort of press a little bit on that. So she's openly said that she doesn't feel ready because of her mental health. Do you think that perhaps her team and her managers have done enough to support her? And with your experience, did you feel that you were getting the support you needed when you were going through?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I'll probably say that, the real essence is actually going to be questioning. They are going to question her team. They're going to say, is it the right decision? She's the number 2 in the world, probably the best, is the biggest name after Serena Williams in women's sport. And there's so many issues with, women's sport, because there's, equal pay. That's another problem we have, And it's great to see in the 100-100, the first game is going to be women's game, and there's equal prize money as well. We've seen it with the Brazil, football team and the women's team. They have equal pay there, and here they're going to be questioning that. People, journalists. Do you know that in the desk, behind the newsroom, there's only 2% of women who work. It's a male-orientated industry, even like the sports journalism. So people are going to question. People are going to say, that old phrase, which they say, why are women playing sport? They should be in the kitchen. They still have that phrase, which I think is completely unacceptable. And, people are going to raise so many different questions now. They're going to think, why wasn't she fit? What is it? And there's going to be so many different stories coming out. And I really hope that they protect, the women empowerment. Because right now there's great stuff happening with women, and they're doing some amazing things. Look at Kamala Harris, who became the first, female sort of, with Joe Biden. So yeah, like these are things, amazing things they're doing, and it's a shame that she was allowed to play when she wasn't mentally fit to play.
And you've sort of openly talked about how well your parents were there in your time of need and the relationship you have with them. Do you think that was really sort of the saving grace in you changing your life around?
Well, it's, how do I describe it? It's like during my really low time, I was like a walking fireball, So I'm walking down the street and I'm on fire. So if Serena wants to help me, she goes, I don't really want to, because if I get too close to Monty, I'm going to burn my hands are going to get burnt, and I'm not really going to help him. And my family and friends, everyone was like that. And it got to a point where I had to get professional help. The PCA were unbelievable. They said, look, Monty, go and see a psychologist, psychiatrist. But I'm very lucky because it's expensive, Getting this kind of professional help is very expensive. And not everyone can get that help. I did. I was lucky. I think when it comes to cricket, it's such a small community that ECB, the PCA, they do so much in helping people with mental health issues, that even the likes of football and rugby are actually kind of behind, and they're learning from cricket. And Marcus Rescothick, who opened up about it, I think helped so many people. So cricket is doing amazing in terms of helping people's health and mental well-being.
And sort of it's exam time at the moment in Cambridge, and obviously people under a lot of pressure at the moment. What kind of advice would you give them to be headstrong and to get through the next few weeks? Well,
I'm sure you guys got Netflix. You can watch some Netflix series, or Friends Reunion is going to be coming out soon, so that to switch you off from your exams. Look, I think it's a balance, isn't it? You got to structure your day really well. You got to know what times of the day you're going to study, what times of the day you're going to switch off, then get back studying again. And it's that sportsman's mindset, isn't it? Which I was talking about this actually. Even I'm studying at St Mary's University, doing international sports journalism, and it was really interesting that we have to structure our day and put everything together. And I thought everyone, does it however I think, but it's not the case. It's like, to get to the top, to what you have to do, you have to have good time management, organize your day, plan 2 weeks in advance. What are your goals, where you want to be? And you guys, being at Cambridge, which I think is unbelievable. You guys must be, supremely intelligent. And, do you guys have your own ways of switching off, or do you guys just hit the books and you never switch off? Do you have any mechanisms of switching off? Anyone? What would it be? Just shout them out. Okay, that's good, yeah. Any others?
Someone said the bar.
Yeah. Well, happy hour, right? Great.
And how has it felt going back to university after so many years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It was interesting, I was in a I was like, I can't, sports journalism, people are going to really take me seriously. Played only 50 test matches.
Only 50.
Yeah, but the thing is, I found it very difficult. I played 50 test matches, but I couldn't get, the jobs, in the sports media industry, and then it's my parents. They go, look, if you're really serious about this, then you should go and do a course. And my ideal course was St Mary's University because it's close by geographically, and also people start taking me a bit more seriously. So so I write for the Telegraph now. I've got my podcast coming out soon, Monty Meets, which I'm sure Serena will promote it, retweet it every day. That's the first thing she does.
There she's going to follow the competition 100.
Yeah, she'll follow competition 100.
We'll do that first, and then we'll do the retweets for the podcast.
Yeah, and then every day she'll put out a tweet about a cricket question she'll ask me, and I'll answer it. And then by the time we get to the 100, you'll know so much about cricket.
Absolutely obliterated in this interview. Okay. So going back to university has been the right decision, and what are you studying? Journalism?
Yeah, I'm studying international sports journalism, so you learn about, practical, on-hand experience on how to organize interviews, how to put the interviews together. Then other way is, media law. Then there's advanced research methods, which is like learning how to practically, get out the sort of juicy bits out of an article, put stats together, and then give you an opportunity how to critically, evaluate something and summarize it, which, I don't think I could have done before, but now I feel, I've got, a bit of experience of doing that.
Brilliant. And I think one thing I really value about you is that you've always kept your religion true to yourself and choosing to wear the burqa when you're training and on match days. Sort of how important is your religion to you? And now I know you're doing Punjab radio and getting very involved. So talk to us about kind of having a very international stage and then also being very loyal to your religion.
Yeah, look, I think religion, faith, it's all, you can go really deep into it, can't you? Like, if people say, is there God? Does it really exist? We can be here till the cows come home and I could talk about it. But
maybe we should have done that interview.
Yeah, probably should have done that, actually. I would have asked her, and she would have known much about it. But faith is an interesting subject. Faith is like, it helps you to deal with so many different aspects of life. Like, some people go to faith when they're going through a grieving period. They can't accept that actually life, you're going to be born and you're going to die one day, right? And the same thing is with your days. When you get up in the morning, you're born again and your day dies, and it's the same cycle of life. So if you've had a bad day, you've got to mentally think, right, this day's going to finish, but tomorrow I'm going to get up again and I'm going to have a fresh day again, and that's the way I think faith helps me to be really productive. I'm thinking, right, gosh, I dropped a few catches today, didn't I, in a club cricket, and I still can't catch a cricket ball. So I go back home and I'm like, oh, I've got the biggest hands in the world, but I still can't catch a cricket ball. So then that probably, gets me on a bit of a downer. But then tomorrow morning, I'm like up again, the sun rises. So it's a way of coping, with bad days and good days. So I think it's, look, I don't know if a God does exist. I haven't seen it in my life, I've been told it does. But it's just a belief system, isn't it? So you can tolerate with the success and failures of life to reach your goals. Everyone needs a belief system, and whatever that is, just stay loyal to it and believe in it, and I'm sure you guys will be successful as well.
And talking about religion, like, have you ever faced any sort of racism in your time playing for England?
That's a great question, and because when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, like even throughout this course that I'm doing right now, people ask about, do you get racial discrimination? And I just thought to myself, oh gosh, when you have like banter in the dressing room, someone will say, oh, here he comes, the curry muncher or Delhi belly, But I just laughed it off because it's sports banter, isn't it? It's like you just have a laugh with each other. But now you can't say these things. Now it's termed as racial discrimination. But I used to laugh at it. I laugh at it. I would find it very funny. I was like, oh gosh, I better make sure, I smell all right, or I'm going to smell like of curry or whatever, right? But it's banter, isn't it? It's like it keeps it's part of team sport. So now I look at it and I think, gosh, you've got to be very careful what you say, because people are going to, term it as racial discrimination. And does it exist? I think we all know, as some shape or form it does exist, doesn't it? Because if I give you a stat now, get my journalism head on, and 25% of professional footballers are black in the professional football. 592 clubs. So you have 25% which are professional athletes, are black footballers, right? So now we have coaches and senior management positions. Give us a figure of how many of that 25% go into senior management coaching positions. Give me a percentage. Go on. Anyone? What's a fair percentage? Go on. Your intellects. Come on, Cambridge intellects. 10%? Any other number? No, but yeah. It's 3.4%. And that's it. And this is what's allowed us to happen since the Black Lives Matter movement. It's allowed us to statistically sit there and think, why is it that 25% of black footballers are in the game, but then only 3%? You know, it should be much higher than that. And that's what it is. That's what they say when they talk about, I don't know, structural racism or whatever, which we don't experience because we're that sort of younger age group, aren't we? We're not in senior management position or CEOs. We're just looking around and we're thinking, yeah, it does exist. There's a glass ceiling for these people and we need more people. We need like Raheem Sterling said, he goes, when I score a goal for Man City and I look up to the boardroom and I'm like, actually, there's no one black person there. Is this it for me? Once I finish playing football, I'm never going to be that person there. And I think that's what, football clubs are doing. They are trying to embrace these things so they can give more opportunity for, each sport, more people coming through. So it's interesting, interesting. I'm sure, you're probably thinking 3.4%, gosh, even I was shocked when I heard that figure.
No, and that's really interesting also to hear about your sort of experience with the racism side as well. Not shocked, but it's obviously, encouraging to hear that you've gone through that, but you've still sort of continued with the sport. What advice do you have for young spinners that are coming into the game?
Yeah, look, I think young spinners, you got to learn how to bowl defensively, how to bowl attackingly. You got to know how to spin the ball and all of these kind of things. So it takes time. It's a game of patience. It's not going to happen very quickly, but it will take time. And then gradually you learn the art of spin. And I was very young. I bowled, remember, 60 overs when I was 17 in a minor counties game. I bowled so many overs, but now it's so difficult for spinners because they have to play one-day cricket, T20 cricket. Batsmen are so aggressive. Before then, batsmen hit the ball miles now. They never used to hit it that far. People played the sweep shot. If it hit the pad, the umpire will give it out. Now it's like you've got DRS. It's so difficult, for spinners now. So they've got to actually, it's the captain really, isn't it? Captain's got to have a spinner's mindset, understand the psychology for a spinner, understand that actually, spinners are going to get hit. We're going to, how do you set fields? How do you do this? And you need a captain who can kind of, trust in that. And Joe Root's been brilliant. Joe Root, again, I think is a brilliant captain for England and really understands, the spin and the likes of Jack Leach coming through, Dom Bess, they've been, absolutely brilliant. So it's, you need a good captain to actually help you, and understand, and give. It's about staying on, isn't it? It's like Shane Warne said, there's no point having all fielders, really close, into there, and then suddenly you get whacked everywhere, and you've got to put the fielders out. You'd rather start off defensively, then bring the fielders in, and I think that mentality, should probably work, with most spinners.
And are you still playing cricket at the moment?
Yeah, I play at Twickenham, so if anybody, is around the London area, wants to watch me, play, I'm at Twickenham Green, or you can watch on live stream. If you're revising or something and you're thinking, Saturday, let's watch on live stream what Monty, if he's bowling well or not. This Saturday, actually, I took 5 wickets, but we still lost, which was quite annoying. But, I'm at Twickenham Green, and, it's a great cricket club.
And what's sort of next for you then? What are you working on at the minute? I know you dropped your podcast. Is there anything else, and what do you want to sort of do in the future?
Yeah, I think I'll probably, studying sports journalism, that's the area I want to go into, So I would love to become a sports reporter, So I have a summer sport and a winter sport. And not just a cricket commentator, but actually a sports broadcaster. So it's like a 12-month of the year. And, also, write articles, do podcasting, radio as well. So it's a whole kind of, the full Monty, like we say, in broadcasting. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Can you give us any sneak peeks of who's going to be on your podcast?
Well, we've got 3 now. She'll be my guest. I'm going to question her on her cricket skill knowledge. I'll say to you, how many balls in an over? Actually, I'll ask her right now. How many balls in an over?
20.
Perfect. She knows everything about cricket.
Is that the right answer? Okay, how about you give me a 30-second pitch on why cricket is so amazing?
Cricket is a great game because it's like you have Test cricket, you have one-day cricket, you have T20 cricket, right? You can choose whichever form you want to watch. It's also a test of discipline, perseverance, everything that it has. No other game is better than cricket. So if you guys want to enjoy the game and enjoy, what cricket brings to you, watch Sky Sports Cricket, and who knows, I may even be there commentating.
Great 30-second pitch. Now we're going to open the floor to the real cricket fans. So just pop your hand up and we'll get a mic across to you. Perfect. We start with the one at the back there.
Hi. So you've already spoken a lot about mental health and that side. And it seems recently that now resting and rotating players is kind of done, by the ECB, not because they're doing that a lot this year and it's very controversial. And it seems not just for physical reasons, but I think, mental health and so on is also a reason cited for that. Like Moeen Ali left was it the Sri Lanka tour or the India tour early, kind of citing those reasons. But also a lot of people don't like it because you can't get a settled squad and all this stuff. So what's your stance on player rotation as a tool to deal with mental health issues as well as also physical health because it's necessary for injury prevention and stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think during the COVID bubble, what makes it difficult is that you can't do the normal things. Like myself, I found it very difficult, It was like, I want to go to the gym every day. Gym is part of my, gives me the sort of, gets rid of all these negative thoughts and I feel great. I couldn't go to the gym. I was like, I had to find ways of going on Instagram Live and then, follow other sort of PT trainers and do gym exercises. And that's a huge part of my mental health. So imagine like a sportsman who probably needs to go out and, go to the cafe or do their kind of routines or whatever it is, go for a run or, don't want to be clogged up in a hotel room 24 hours a day. And that difficulty after a while, it's like, it's too difficult for me. I can't sustain that high level of performance. Doesn't matter how much money I get, These cricketers, they get over, they get, I think, £1 million contracts, central contracts right now. And that's what it shows, that you can throw as much money as you can at the person or whatever. You got to be happy within, you can't, that's priceless. The peace and the happiness, that brings and how to get there. That's what is so much, so important. People, suffer from depression. One day they'll feel great. Next day they feel like, they don't want to get out of bed. You got to find ways, of how to deal with that. Anxiety is another one. I'm there and there's a fast bowler coming, and next thing I know, I'm like, oh, what's happening? I don't fancy this. And that's mental health as well. There's a lot of sports people train so hard, but when they get into the winning moment, that magical moment, they freeze. They can't do it because of some sort of mental health problem, because there's a freeze. It's just not for them. And that's the issue. That's why sports psychologists are vital, part of a sports governing body, sports people. And also, you need to understand. You need to understand your teammate. Is he okay? Is he going through something that, do I know the symptoms of anxiety, depression? Is my teammate, showing any of these kind of signs? So all of these things are so vital and so important. And if you educate yourself, you could just help your teammate.
Perfect. If we can get a question from over here, please.
Hi. With the rise in popularity of T20 cricket and the shorter format of the game, like in the past decade through the IPL and things, where do you see the future of Test cricket in like 5 to 10 years' time? And do you think the World Test Championship is a good way of promoting Test cricket?
Yeah, look, I think, Test cricket will always have to remain the bread and butter. Is where you learn your cricket, is where you learn how to be patient when the ball's moving around and you've got to leave that ball. How, as a spinner, you've got to, sometimes bowl defensively. Other times, you've got to adjust your line. You can't do that in T20 or one day, as it's you're dictated by the run rate, really. So it's the real, the bread and butter of cricket. It's like the foundation of a house, if that's probably, you know, that's the way we can sort of describe it, right? And for me, you need to always innovate the game. You always got to be creative, you know, and technology plays a huge part. So that idea, what you said, World Test Championship, brilliant, you know, it gets people talking. It's going to be like New Zealand are the #1 team in the world right now. If they don't do well against England, they were going into the World Test Championship against India, they probably lose. But because the ICC have organised this tournament, it gets people talking about the game, talking about the longer form of the game. And another issue is pitches. You know, we saw in India, there was like 3-day test matches. And sometimes I'm thinking, well, you know, test cricket is about 4 to 5 days. You know, and will England be producing green wickets? Or will England think, no, we're going to produce neutral pitches? And what pitch will, you know, ICC produce during the World Test Championship? Would it be a neutral pitch, or would it be a turning wicket, you know? So these are the debates and the topics we want to talk about our cricket, because it will get people, you know, interested in the game and keep the game evolving. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely perfect that we do have World Test Championship, and, you know, we do everything we can to keep the Test cricket alive.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, you've had a very long career with a lot of things happening in it, a lot of big highs and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask, what's the biggest achievement you consider of your career, whether that's for England or for county or in your personal life or something like that?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest achievement for me is I'm actually honest to myself. That's my biggest achievement. Because, you know, being a sports person, when you go through like a really weak, you know, period in your life, you're like in denial. You're like thinking, oh, I'm only known by my performances. But every morning I get up and I look at that man in the mirror and I say to him, do I own that person? And most of the time I say, yes, I own him. And that is the most important thing for me.
And the days you wake up and you don't own him, what's going through your mind?
Then I send Serena a tweet and ask her about cricket. And then she makes me laugh by giving me a complete different response. And then, you know, that's my sort of laughter medicine.
Good answer, good answer. Okay, we can just take a question from over there.
Thanks. So as well as being a sports person, you're also a personality and a cultural icon. And for a Sikh person like me, growing up in the mid-2000s, you know, you were a role model, and seeing your face out there in the news was something incredible. And I just wanted to ask, being in the public eye, especially at such a young age, so how did you respond to that, and what kind of effect did that have on you?
Yeah, look, for me, I think I was very lucky. I had a life coach, and he dealt with everything, you know, agents and everything. And he at the time, when I was at my sort of highest, you know, point, where the Monty mania was huge, and, you know, was probably one of the most recognizable sports people in the country, he gave me really good advice. He said to me, look, Monty, don't like live out, you know, stay home up with your parents, because you'll be in a safe place, you know. And that's so important, you know, like the parents, you know, back in and their help, you know, their advice, they know you and all of that. You know, you can't underestimate, you know, what parents know about you and how they can help you to deal with, let's say, you know, like it's like you want to get to the top, but there's so many, the further you go up let's say, climbing the Everest, the steeper that you know, the gradient it gets, and it becomes harder and harder. You need, you know, someone who are very close by to support you. And my parents have been absolutely brilliant, you know, like my dad, my mum, they're always, you know, very supportive of me. And even now, you know, they're like, it's like this with my parents. They go, we'll give you the freedom to do whatever you want in life, but when you come back, we want to hear success stories, or else there's a price to the freedom, you know. So naturally, you know, they've taught me in that way to be successful. And they work extremely hard. You know, they're hard-working people, and that's where my hard work comes from. And I've got a little dog called Rambo as well, and he's sort of, you know, it's been like, how do I say it? That unconditional love. You know, when humans and everyone wants to sort of not speak to Monty because he's too angry at the moment, he's a massive fireball. Rambo always there. He doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, how angry I am, how much of a bad day I've had. I open that door and then Rambo just runs and jumps on me. And that's the beauty about unconditional love. So, it's just, I think you've got to have ways to switch off from the world, And Alistair Cook was probably one of the best, the best batsman we've ever produced. But his switching off mechanism was he would have a massive farm. So he'll go to the farm, not think about cricket. The only time he'll think about cricket is when he get to the ground. But sometimes you get so obsessed with your goals or whatever you want from life, cricket myself, I'll be at home and there could be, an amazing, program or a funny thing going on. My mind will be still thinking about cricket. And the great people in life, they know how to switch on and off. And I would say even now, you guys want to become successful in your life. You guys are probably one of the most brightest kids in this country, going to Cambridge University. Have a hobby, have something to just switch off. It could be something small, not something big, but it really will help you, to recharge your batteries. And then when you go back to studying again, you'll just smash it for a 6 and then get your A's, and the great results.
Thank you. And if we could take a question from the front here.
Hi, Monty. Thanks for coming today. It's great having you. I just wanted to ask about mental health as well. You said that sports such as football are a little bit behind cricket. What would you say to football as an industry? What could they learn from cricket, and how could they improve in that area?
Yeah, look, I think football is doing a lot more now than it was before. But I think football has a bigger issue as well. Because I think in football, in the 70s and the 80s, it was predominantly, let's say, a British white sport, right? And if it was any sort of, let's say, black footballer, playing, it was quite normal. I speak to some of the black footballers, it's quite normal just to like them, just to throw a banana skin. While they're at football, they're like, guys, we're going to get this, racism, abuse, but it's all right. It's part of character building. And even now you're thinking, wow, part of character building, is that really, how they dealt with it? And that's how they did. So I think, they're doing a lot now to help it. But even when it comes to mental health, I think, the conversations, it's more about talking, less about, getting the personal help. My advice with mental health would be, do you have 5 people that you can speak to? So right now, if you wasn't feeling great, who are your 5 people you can speak to? Let's say it could be your mom, your dad, do you have 3 uni friends, or do you have 5 people? If you don't have that, that shows your relationships are not strong enough. You don't have a strong relationships. You need to work on them. So how do you work on these relationships? Find out the common hook points with your friends around your, say, university campus or whatever there is. And try and get involved with that. If if some people like watching the rugby, go and watch a rugby, with them. If some people like, football, go and watch a football game with them. Do something that is, they like doing, so you can develop these healthy relationships. Because as humans, we are not supposed to be in isolation. Isolation is the breeding ground of mental health issues. So in isolation, you are going to believe your reality. You are going to think, I am rubbish, I'm not great, I'm not this. Because when you say stuff to yourself, who is the first person to listen to? It's you. Your self-negative talk to yourself. And suddenly you start believing that as reality. And the next thing, 2 weeks later, you're thinking, oh, what happened? Why did that person commit to suicide? Because they were in isolation, and then their reality was like, this is the right time to go. And that's the problem. So you always have people around you. If you're not feeling great, just pick up a phone, ring someone up, have healthy friendships, do stuff. Is so, so important. If you talk, that's the best way to get out of any situation. Just talk to a friend.
Oh. Can I ask another question, just following up on that? So I agree, if talking to people, it's very important to determine your self-worth extrinsically. But you said, most importantly, that self-worth comes intrinsically. How do you use those relationships with others to then also build intrinsic self-worth?
I actually couldn't listen to that question. Could you, if you put your face mask down, it'd be easier to hear.
Sorry. So what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to ask, is that communication is extremely important. that is probably an extrinsic way of gaining some self-worth. And then I think that's about translating into intrinsic self-worth, where it comes from within. How would you say that translation process worked for you, and how would you recommend that goes for others?
Well, look, the thing is, right, you got to have this awareness where you say to yourself, when I feel down, do I rely on external stuff? Do I go to the shops and buy loads of expensive things? Do I hit the bar and just, have a few drinks? Do I look at external things, right? Make a list of it. Then think internally. What do I do internally to help myself? You can read a book, you can watch a movie, mindfulness, meditation. Can you sit in silence when all the noise is going on, but then 20 minutes later, it will die down? It's like a storm, Eventually the storm goes away. That's why people do mindfulness. That's why people do meditation. Because you go to meditation classes or do yoga. Like I remember when I do a yoga class, I'll have 1,000 thoughts and I'll think, oh my God, this, right? I do an hour of it and I'm like, what's happened to the thoughts? Where they all gone? And that's the beauty of meditation, mindfulness, And, people in what is it, in America, children are already doing mindfulness activities. And it's improving their examination, and to the next level. And do you guys actually have any mindfulness classes? It'd be interesting to see, Cambridge University, do you guys have this kind of stuff at Student Union or anything like this?
Yeah, we do. So I talk about my college. Yeah, we do yoga classes. And they offer counselling, and it's a chance to sort of just meet other people. So a lot of welfare initiatives in terms of coffee days and ice creams and things like that. So yeah, I think they're promoters, but it'd be interesting to know what other colleges are like as well.
I think it's mainly about conversation. I think that's where it starts. And I think that's kind of where also our colleges are starting to build from there and then go further.
Yeah, look, there's many different things. Sometimes you could be, when I was young at your age, I was a shy kid, man. I find it very difficult speaking to people. So when I see someone who's quite introverted, quite quiet, I can relate to them because I wasn't like this, But when I was 21, 20, very young, shy kid, insecure, even if I bowl an amazing ball, pitch middle, hit the top of, I've got the best batsman out, go to the coach and ask, was that a really good ball? So, always needed, someone to give me that belief. And there's so many other ways of doing it. It's difficult, it's difficult to go and speak to a friend. You may not have the confidence to call someone or whatever. And that's the intrinsic side that you're talking about. You can listen to podcasts, There's podcasts out there where you can, there's the Monty Meets coming out soon. And I'm sure I'll give you a good laugh about that, right? So there's many things you can do. But it's a conversation, isn't it? So I've talked about mental health from so many different aspects. And I'm sure each one of you have probably taken a different snippet of it. But what we've done is we've started the conversation, like you said. So I'm sure it'll probably help, you guys sitting here and you're thinking, yeah, I find that is relating to me. I find whatever you talked about cricket is this, or, here. That's what it's about. It's starting these conversations. And like you said, you have these ice cream clubs, coffee clubs, or book clubs. Join these kind of things. Be part of it. Go and join a society. Join like a random, there's so many societies at uni, isn't there? Go and join them, because that could be your switch off mechanism, Cricket is for me. I play club cricket. It's for that. It's to switch off from, the daily, mundane of being a news junkie and, reading up on stuff, which, I never used to. 15 years ago, I never exercised the brain of reading and writing. So when I'm doing that, obviously, it's a new process for me. I'm learning. So again, do these kind of things. It's so important. Don't please, don't stay insular. Go out and, explore what you want from the university. And being at Cambridge, it's not all about studies. I'm sure there's so much more to offer and, try and make the most of these opportunities.
Thank you. If you can take a question from the back over there, please.
Hi, Monty. Obviously, throughout your career, you're predominantly known for your bowling. But I wanted to ask about Cardiff in 2009, where it was your batting that saved the day, along with Jimmy Anderson, of course. Perhaps you just tell us a little bit about that. You know, what was going through your head? You know, when did you start believing, I guess, that you could actually bat out the remaining overs?
Well, look, I think sport is... Sometimes in sport you have these miracle moments, and I'll say that was probably one of them, where you look at it, I average 4. So basically, an outside edge, right, goes through the slips, that's 4 runs, an inside edge, which I've missed, and then the third ball, it'll probably be a straight one, and I've missed it, and I'm out. So that's the expectation when I'm going into Cardiff, right? And it was just, you know, I remember having a batting buddy, Paul, at that time, and Andy Flower at that time said, in 2 years, we are going to become the #1 team in the world for England. And part of that system was, how do we get the lower order batsmen to actually bat more overs, just to bat out balls? Because the batsmen were saying when we had a group meeting, they go, we actually feel that when the lower order just stay out there for an hour, may only get 10 runs, but it really gives us, lifts us up, and it really, the momentum shifts. And I remember my batting buddy said to me, look, Monty, when it's straight, protect the stumps. If it's short, just drop the hands down. I don't care if it hits you or whatever. And I thought, oh, I remember Paul calling my batting buddy. That's what he said. So I just remembered that. And we took ball by ball, ball by ball. I was like, I'm only good as my next ball. I'm not going to look, too far ahead. And we just gradually got there, in the end. And it was one of the probably my finest hour in an England shirt. I'm not known for my batting. And, and look, even you guys are laughing, so you guys agree with that. Even at club cricket, I bat at 11. So I try and get up the order, but they won't put me up the order. So that was probably my finest, hour. And what it, now sitting back and reflecting through that and just going through it, it makes me realize that sometimes in life we think about, 6 months' time, that's where I want to be. But you're actually only good as your next day. Today has to be productive, or whatever it is. I'm only good as my next day. I'm only good as my next ball. I'm only good as my next assignment. I'm only good as my next lecture class.
Only as good as my next interview.
No, but Serena's a great interviewer because she's promised to tweet me every day about cricket. And I'm sure you guys are going to look forward to that now, right? She'll ask me a question on cricket and I'll answer it. And by the time...
I'm going to learn.
She's going to learn cricket as well. But no, she is brilliant, She's really good because I think she has that... She's humble enough to know that cricket isn't her main thing, but she's still very good at... very good at interviewing and asking some amazing questions today, which allowed me to open up and talk about it in a way which probably, I couldn't have done. So I think she's done an amazing job.
It definitely wasn't me looking for. But thank you very much for your kind words. Anybody else? Probably got time for another 2, so if we take one from this side.
Sorry, I'm asking one more. But so you mentioned that Andy Flower thing, best team in the world. I actually watched a documentary, I think it was called The Edge. It's fantastic. Spoke a lot about mental health, and it followed that team and the incredible achievements they had. And there was obviously a very clear goal, and they won the Ashes out in Australia. Incredible team. And then sort of leading up to the 2019 World Cup, the shift seemed to focus to one-day cricket, and obviously, again, an incredible white ball team. So do you think in the modern game, my question is, can you as a country only really focus on one format at a time, in a way? Because it kind of seemed that when the focus went to white ball, the test cricket fell down a little bit. But teams obviously want to focus on all 3. India, Kohli's trying to be the best batsman in the world in all 3 formats. So is it that, like, as a team, you kind of have to focus on one nowadays, given how, like, competitive both Test, ODI, and T20 have all become? Or can you actually develop a team that's the best in all 3, which I think India's sort of trying to do?
Well, I think India's probably the only nation that has the best team in all 3 formats, and they can be competitive. They've probably got the best chance to win the T20 World Cup. They produced that amazing, win at Brisbane. First time they won at Brisbane. First time a team has beaten Australia in 37 years. That was Australia's strength. No, they never lost in Brisbane since Shane Warne, came. And it was India's B team. It wasn't even India's first team. Virat Kohli was at home, paternity leave, and here's Ravi Shastri thinking, well, I've got a group of players and I've got to get them to win. And he managed to do that because he's a great motivator, So it all comes down to planning. But I think what we learned when, like us go back to that comment of Andy Flower said, in 2 years' time, we did it in 18 months. But after the 18 months, a lot of people fell off the wagon. A lot of players fell off the wagon, right? Why was that? Because when you put yourself under intense pressure and you're earning a lot of money, you're just asked to say, right, when, like I talked to you about the arena, you're in the boxing arena and you don't have time to, think about, oh, how do I mentally feel today? Am I okay? It's like, no, I've got to get up and I've got to throw punches back and I'm going to win this fight. You've got to be ready. You've got to be mentally switched on. Like you have a Formula One car, you take it to the races, you've got to make sure the MOT, everything, it is spot on. The service, everything is ready to go. That's how you've got to be when you're in a competitive environment. You've got to tick all the boxes, and if you're not ready to go, you can't just, you've got to say, right, I'm not ready for the environment. And at that time, it was basically 6 balls, I want you to hit that area. If you can't hit it, why can't you hit it? There was no conversation about, actually, by the way, mentally I don't feel great. Now they have that education. Now it's like, actually, why don't you feel mentally great? What's up? What's this? These kind of conversations do take place amongst the coaches, amongst the teammates, and that actually is helping performances now. So, England are obviously going through a transition phase because since Alistair Cook, they didn't really have a, top order batting, but heavily reliant on Joe Root. But Owen Morgan in 4 years' time, their goal was to win the World Cup. They did that. They transformed, the white ball, performances. So England, to be well in all 3 formats, I think it's a bit too much of an ask. They don't have the population for it like India has. India has the population, has the resources. They are gonna, if India are not strong in all 3 formats, it's not good for world cricket. So you need India to be strong in all formats.
And we'll just take one more question from this side as well.
Hi. Which batsman do you dread facing?
Oh, that has to be Virender Sehwag. He doesn't matter if the ball's turning, not turning, first ball is going out of the ground. He's going for a big 6 as well. So, and he just puts that fear in the batsman. He's so supremely confident, and he's an amazing guy, and a really laid-back sort of person. Like he's singing. You can hear him sing. You're like, what is he singing there? And he's just singing, and he goes whack out of the ground. Fast bowler come, he's singing in his mind. He's just whacking it. That's like that's how how well he knew his game. These great. When he play against these greats, they're just unbelievable how they know their game so well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for today, Monty. I have learned a lot about cricket. And it was really good to hear more about your stories, and especially touching on sort of your religion and mental health and kind of everything that you're up to now in pursuing, your further career. So definitely listen to his new podcast that he's got coming out. And in terms of what we've got planned as the Cambridge Union, we've got a lineup of events happening this week. So kicking off with Jamie Ruskin tomorrow, which is a virtual. We then have Chris Eubank in person on Wednesday, and we also have Edmund Dewal. On Thursday, we've got a Marxist head-to-head debate. And then following up on Friday, Holly Tucker, she's the founder of Not on the High Street. And then on Sunday, Stephen Bartlett, the new Dragon on Dragon's Den. And we hope that you can, come and experience those as well. So thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.